Hello and welcome to the Divine Self-Care Conversation Series. This is Elena Lipson, your Divine Self-Care mentor, passionate about all things self-care, and my passion is to help you become your number one asset in life, business, and let's not forget the bedroom because it's all connected. Today, I'm really excited. It's a special episode. It's more like a mini workshop today. So if you don't have a journal, you don't have a paper and pen next to you, grab one because you're going to want it. We're going to talk about chakras today. We're going to talk about self-care, and you're going to walk away with some really simple, actionable steps to help you clear, to help you get centered and aligned. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome my friend Alexis Saloutos. And I got to meet her in person, which is awesome, and get hugs. And we were at the same event as speakers recently. So it's very rare that you get to meet someone online, but we were very lucky to both be at the same event at the same time. And I'm so excited to have you here, Alexis. How are you?
Thank you so much, Elena. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. So every time we talk, whether it's on camera or in person, I just really treasure our time together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And Alexis, for those of you who don't know her, she is a certified nutritionist and the founder of Chakra. That's Chacredy. You can find her at chacredy.com. And there's layers of just magic to you. So I can't wait to dive in and get into some of the tips and the actionable, but I want to find out a little bit more about you for those of my tribe and audience who don't know you yet. Tell us a little bit about, the work that you're doing and how you got there, because I know it's an interesting story, which we all have, but I think yours is infused with so much magic. So just share a little bit about your business and the work that you do in the world and how you got there.
Yes, definitely. So arriving here has definitely been an interesting unfolding. My academic background is in nutrition, and so I spent a lot of my studies and clinical experience training in different aspects of food-related things. I worked in the fitness industry for over a decade as a personal trainer, and so I've always been really curious and interested in the body and just everything that connects to the body from more of a holistic perspective. And when I went back for my master's degree at Bastyr, I really went back to school knowing that I needed to seek out additional trainings and wanted to get my hands on everything. So I immersed myself in Reiki training. I went through all of the levels of Reiki, craniosacral, flower essences. I mean, I really wanted to learn as much as I could to create my own pathway so that I felt like I would be able to express myself fully and really connect with all of my soul in the work that I was doing. We really, and I feel this connection with you too. It's like, we don't want to just be operating from this partial expression. We want to be embodying all aspects of ourselves in what we're doing. And the path there has taken, for all of us, it's taken me into the darkest of the depths. And that's where so much of the big shifts have come from, and all of the great inspiration and information has come through the willingness to go there. But I will say that after I graduated with my master's, I opened up a nutrition practice, and I worked with a really incredible teacher, one of the top Lyme doctors in the world, and learned amazing techniques, and just was so inspired by his ability to really connect with people in such a deep and profound way. And he also really modeled confidence in an interesting way, which it was like this vulnerable confidence. And so I decided to take that into my practice and start applying things like a mad scientist, and went from just working with food to really stepping into, applying some of the energetic tools that I had been studying. And so it became this integration of all things. And I used everything from muscle testing to hands-on energy work. And I was gifted this magical crystal pendulum. This is one of them.
Beautiful.
And it was with this pendulum that I started holding it over the field and noticed that it would move in specific ways, and it would move in specific ways over the body.
So when you say the field, it's like just our field right over our body, right? In Reiki work and in craniosacral, there's like, you just have this hands-on area. So you would hold it over different parts.
I would hold it, over different parts of the body, and started noticing that the pendulum would move in certain ways. And it really didn't click for me until one day, I was experiencing a bit of an identity crisis, not a bit of one, a massive one. And it was after I had just given birth to our firstborn and our only born right now. And I had let go of my practice and was coming back to work, and just felt like what I was doing wasn't embodying everything. It wasn't all of me. And got into this place that felt really dark, and really just decided to let it all go. And there was a moment where I was down on my knees in my office, just praying to have the courage to allow whatever it was that I was feeling to come through me. And I'm not kidding. It was days later where I realized, oh my gosh, I have this entire system of energetic assessment, and I've been using it all these years and never even knew.
Oh my God. Every time you say that, I get chills. And that's my divine truth thing. Yeah. Every time when you said about the crystal and the energy field and it started moving, and it almost feels like you just tapped into something at the perfect time when you were ready and open, because like you said, you were exploring. And I think, I just want to point out here, so many of the women obviously in my tribe are entrepreneurs or just starting, and they feel like they need to know what they're doing right away. And if they don't, it's so frustrating. And that's why I asked, what's the story? How did you get there? And it's never A to B. It's always A to Z, and with circuitous paths along the way. But that's part of it. It's almost like you're picking up clues along the way. And the more you can stay open and open and open. So I love that you were sort of following your intuitive nudges, gathering, because there's pieces of everything, I'm sure, that will now inform and affect your work and how you work with women. And I got to witness you doing your magic on stage at our, the conference we were at in Seattle. And it was so fascinating to watch, because I've mentioned this to you personally before. I have a fascination with the chakra system, and I know the power of clearing, and I base a lot of my work sort of energetically around the chakras. So your work is just so, and I saw it work right there on stage. You were just very clear, and it wasn't, I don't know, it just felt like very matter of fact, and this happens, and you can be closed in one area. And I think what was coming up when you were talking also about the body piece was that so much of what we do and try to solve as entrepreneurs, especially and as women, is in our head, and we try to think our way through things and out of things and stuck in confusion. And sometimes I would say 99.9% of the time, just getting into our body somehow can help us. Dancing, walking, running, jumping, whatever it might be, sex even, can help you move energy. And so you've tapped into this real power of the body, and how we sort of don't even consider sometimes that there's stuck energy. We don't have to think our way out of it. We can align our way out of it. And that's fascinating. So what's been your, those moments where you're like, oh my God, this is what I was meant to do. This is amazing. When are those moments for you, when you're with a client or when you're doing your own inner work? When do you get those moments?
I love that question. I'm so thrilled to say that I experience those moments so much with what I'm doing, because that's how aligned I feel with this work. So I feel that way when I'm working with people one-on-one. I feel that way when I'm teaching. I feel that way when I'm doing chakra assessments on live calls. I feel that way having conversations with people like you. I feel so alive and aligned with what I'm doing that I don't feel anymore like I'm afraid of being shaken off this path. This is where I'm supposed to be. It doesn't matter what comes up. I know that as I continue to grow and as I continue to radiate this light into the world, that I will be met with challenges. And that's starting to arise now that things are really getting out there. And I used to have a lot of fear around being seen. And even though I have studied, I have 2 science degrees, it's like, am I really good enough to do this work? Am I the person who can be the voice and be the person behind these remedies, bringing them into the world? Because they're, that's part of the work. I feel like that's just part of the work, working through our own stuff, working through our blocks, working through our challenges. And that's a great sign to me that I am doing this with awareness and intention as I meet those challenges, and can just welcome them in with tools. So it's, I feel that all the time, I must say. And it's so freaking awesome, because I didn't feel that way for such a long time. And I relate to so much of what you were saying just about your community too. We find ourselves in this place where, I know for me, the more that I studied and the more that I learned, the more overwhelmed I became with finding my own way. Yeah. It was just, it felt like it would be easier to just be this one thing. Not that we're ever one thing, but if I could just have studied food or just have studied flower essences, it would be so much easier than trying to create this path with all of these different things. Yeah. And now the beauty of this system and what I train other people in is that it's not only a skill set, it is, but it's a way to weave together all of our unique gifts and tools and skills in a focused and systematic way. And I really could not have dreamed something bigger than that. I mean, that is like, yes, this is what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so tell us, well, one thing first. I think it's so important what you said about the doubts keep coming up, and they will always keep coming up, because it's such a humbling human experience to tap into what you love, to feel so confident about it, and then just one day something happens, or whatever happens, or fear, or whatever your upper limit might be, right? From The Big Leap, that book, if you haven't read it, read it, because this is sort of what happens behind the scenes of anything you try to create. You make the declaration, and all of a sudden the saboteur comes up, and that is a process that is ongoing, but it feels like you've tapped into that knowing. So even though that cycle comes up, you have a way to move past it. And that's such an important point for everyone to, even if you do find that clarity and you get that moment of zone of genius, you're like, yes, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And oh man, wait a minute, there's the 10 reasons why I'm not doing it. So, on your path, it feels like you're going up and down, and it's totally normal, and it's totally okay. And like you said, the tools are where you can really find your flow. So in my community, it's all about self-care. Mm-hmm. So my reaction to stuckness and overwhelm is going into my toolkit of self-care and seeing what it is that I need to realign and get centered. And so it feels like for you, and I know we're both, as experts in each other's community, and I'm really excited to welcome you in for the next year as a guest expert, because I feel like there's so much alignment between getting aware of your own chakra system and how you can balance it, and then self-care. And it really feels like it weaves together really well. So I'm excited to share that as we unfold.
I always get so excited talking with you. I'm like, yes, there's so many things to talking.
Well, I think I shared this with you before. My very first program is all about the chakra system, all about going through blocks in each system, but it's very, it's not from your perspective, it was from my perspective, meaning like upper limiting and what can you do, what's the best self-care for your voice, your throat chakra, your heart chakra. So there's so much alignment there. And I'm passionate about chakras because I know the power of clearing. I know the power of stuckness, and I know how good it feels afterwards. So, I definitely want to make sure we share about your program, because it's so amazing, and I know it opens up throughout the year at several points. So I want to take some time and dive into, maybe a little bit of that weaving. And even if you don't use the word self-care or my languaging, I want to hear it from your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If we can go through each energy center and knowing that there's some of you out there who are like, yep, I got it. I know each one. And some of you are like, what's a chakra? So maybe as we go through each chakra, we can talk a little bit about, okay, let's start with the first one, the root chakra. What is that? What is that for? What's it, how does that affect your life? And then maybe one tip to clear or just get present with it, or what do you do when you feel like, oh, I feel like my, how do you even know which one it is?
Yeah.
And what do you do to help clear it? So I know there's many, many ways, but what's one simple thing that someone who is just even getting into chakras start thinking about and inviting in?
Yes. Okay. So much goodness here. So the chakra system for me is just such a powerful platform. And I really didn't spend a lot of time studying the chakras, even in all of the energy stuff that I was working with. There was not a huge emphasis on the chakra system. And so I'm like, how did I end up becoming this chakra expert when that wasn't a primary foundation for me? And what I've realized, and this was recent clarity, it makes so much sense that the chakras have become the foundation for this work, because they are essentially the bridge between the physical and the energetic. And so I like to think of the chakras like push pins that are connecting the energy bodies with the physical body, and they're communicating what is going on internally, but also how we're relating to our external environment. So they're constantly fluctuating, the energy flow is constantly fluctuating, which is very different from some of the other energies that I work with, like the organ energies. So beginning with the root chakra, should we just go right through?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So the root chakra is something that I use the term prioritizes, but it prioritizes often when we are not present energetically in our bodies. And this happens a lot when we are either uncomfortable, maybe we're in physical pain, maybe there's just not an awareness, but there can be almost this disconnect or this snapping up at the root chakra when we are not grounded. So the root chakra for me, from my lens, is all about connecting down. So it's connecting with the earth. It's the densest of the energies. So all things dense energy, body, food, and connected with family. I mean, there's so much there, but really the root chakra is the foundation, and grounding is the work that I focus on most in supporting the root chakra. And what better way to ground than to connect with the earth and to get moving so that you can bring your energy fully into your body. So my number one tip for supporting the root chakra, I would have to say movement. And if you can move outside when you're actually in contact with the earth and the elements, that is like the best way to ground quickly. It's just so effective. And I love crystals. So I would say crystals and outdoor movement for me. For the root chakra.
So would you just hold a crystal? Would you just carry it with you? Would you just spend some time meditating with it? How would you use the crystal?
I use crystals. I have them on me a lot. So I treat them almost like gear. I get geared up with them. I keep them on my body.
I got mine.
I know. I was going to say, I'm surprised I don't have any within reaching distance.
Oh my gosh, I have a ton. I'll have them for you.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere for me. I just like to hold them when I'm not feeling grounded. I hold them oftentimes when I feel like I need to really stay present and grounded on a call, on an interview. They're powerful. They're powerful for sure. So movement and crystals are my two favorite go-tos for supporting the root chakra.
Yeah. And I love that. And I know I'm always drawn to walking first thing in the morning. If I'm feeling a little in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to go for a walk outside, 10 minutes, brisk walk, feet on the ground, hear the birds, and I feel instantly back in my body. So I love that. And just for those of you following along who are just getting to know the chakras, a really easy way to remember them is it's the rainbow starting at the bottom. So the root chakra is red. So, and the next one will be orange, and then yellow, green, blue, purple, indigo, right? So it's just
like that. Yeah.
Really easy to remember it that way.
I like that. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So a great way to know if your root chakra is in balance is if you notice yourself almost hovering over your body or projecting forward and kind of in this upper part of your energy, that can be a great indicator that there's some grounding to do.
Like you can't get present, you're trying to distract yourself, you're not doing one thing at a time. I totally get that. So that's a great way to know if you're not, or if you just, I know if I'm constantly like, I just can't seem to focus, I feel ungrounded, that's a great way to notice. And that's something that we all go through just because there's so much stimulus coming at us sometimes. It's easy to get there. Okay, so if you're misaligned, you're feeling distracted, not present, unfocused, and then you go to, if you can, be outside, get moving, get your body moving. I know sometimes I want to feel my legs. Like sometimes I'll even like jump dance because I don't feel like I'm in my body. So, and that feels different for some people. I know people have described it as like buzzing or just like this kind of frantic energy. So that's a great tip. Okay. So that's the first one.
Yes. So the second one, so the sacral chakra. So, and again, you know, we all connect with these energies in different ways. The sacral chakra for me, some of the primary energies that really show up here are trust, allowing, courage is an energy that I work with a lot, and boundaries, which tend to be associated with the solar plexus, with the third chakra often. I really like to bring that down into the sacral, because in order to set clear energetic boundaries, we have to ground ourselves first. So the grounding opens up, you know, the channel of energy flow, top to bottom, bottom to top. And then from the sacral chakra, we're really pulling up those energetic boundaries so that we can hold our energy in our center in the solar plexus. So I like to open up the conversation around energetic boundaries when we arrive at the sacral chakra, because that is such a huge piece of feeling in alignment and feeling flow. And the sacral chakra is so much about flow, and it's huge. So just bringing up that conversation of energetic boundaries at the sacral and how that relates to not only business, but all of our relationships, every aspect of our lives, really.
Yeah, that's a huge one. That one's orange, right? So I guess the opposite of that would be when you're not feeling in flow. What other sort of recognizable symptoms of not being aligned in the sacral chakra would you find?
Yeah, I would definitely say the flow piece. There is a lot of emotional stuckness that can be associated with this energy center too. So feeling like just that, again, emotional flow isn't really happening either, that there isn't, it's almost like I connect with these energetic suspenders. So I like to dig down deep into the sacral chakra. And if you don't feel like you can dig down deep into that part of your body and your energy, that is a really good indicator that there's some work to do. And it's the back of our energy is connected with receiving, but receiving at this part of the energy tends to show up as a priority quite a bit.
So when you say the back of our energy, do you mean like our actual physical back body?
Yes, definitely the back body. So I connect with the front of the energy is more about what we're putting forward, what we're putting out into the world, taking action, doing. And the back is about allowing, receiving, being. And we tend to be very front dominant. And that can be because there isn't an awareness of the back of the energy. It can also be because it's scary to be in the back of the energy.
What a great reason to get massages.
Right? There you go.
Seriously, that's interesting, because when I do get massages and acupuncture, I do feel this like real balance flow. And so much of my job is moving forward and creating. I don't pause, and I notice the less I do the massages, I make time for it, the more I feel out of balance. Like, oh, I just need to go take care of myself more. So that's fascinating. I never thought about that front and back balance.
Yes, that's big. And I would say creative stuckness too. I mean, that's a huge connection as well. Relationships, creativity, career, all of the things that we would associate with the sacral chakra tends to need a lot of support a lot of the time, and especially in women. Second, fifth chakra connection is huge in the work that I do.
Yeah, I can definitely see that with the whole receiving giving and receiving balance, because we are, as women, usually somewhere out of balance in some areas where it's totally natural, but the awareness, bringing the awareness to it can help us to fill our own bodies and fill our own cups, right? As they say, fill your own cup before you and give from the overflow. So that's a great sort of container to even have awareness of. It feels like there's that pelvic container of, are you filled up? Are you in flow? Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's the orange chakra.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
Great. So
I love connecting with water. This is, water for the sacral chakra for me. There's a deep connection there. So whether it's drinking water, whether it's being in water, taking a bath, I mean, there's just, water is my go-to support for this chakra. It helps me connect with flow and with fluidity and all of that. So I find that
such a great point. It's such a simple thing to do. We are always looking for the big miraculous transformative tool. And really it's just breath and water alone.
So true.
Even just get like, okay, let me breathe through my body and let me have water to let things flow. If you do that alone, that can really help to realign you without even knowing what's happening. Just let it go, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the root chakra, we've got the sacral chakra, and
my favorite, the solar plexus. So, in the way that I relate to the solar plexus, it's my favorite chakra to work with. And for me, this is the self-care chakra. I mean, we can, of course, self-care connects with everything. I can definitely, this is the big self-care container.
Yes.
Happens to be my favorite. I really feel like this is the house of the soul, this energy center. It is where we connect with our authenticity. It's where we really click into alignment. And the soul is very attached to this life and to outcome. And so that's why I feel there's this natural tension and desire to really connect with what it is you're here to do. And nurturing this part of our energy is huge. It's a very intuitive part of our energy. My training focuses a lot on working with the solar plexus because I've started to use the term solar plexus sensitive, but I grew up not knowing what was going on with this energy center, but feeling everything from this part of my energy. And a lot of us perceive energy from this part of our body. And what can happen is we can project out from this part of our body, feel around into our environment, and then pull that energy back in. And when we do that, it oftentimes gets synced up with other stuff. And that creates a lot of stuck energy. So if we just look at physical symptoms, I mean, we could look at digestive issues, everything that's happening in the gut. There's so much going on there. When any type of imbalanced energetic entanglement that's going on tends to show up at the solar plexus. So that's why I always like to begin the conversation of energetic boundaries at the sacral and then bringing it up to the solar plexus, because here, if we're talking about front and back aspects of the energy, this is where we really begin to, when we have an awareness, we begin to really anchor and stay centered in our energy from this part of the body. So the solar plexus is a massive energy to work with. It's huge. And that's why I love it, because it's challenging.
Yeah, it's so interesting that so much of what we do when we, I want to maybe talk a little bit more about what you mean by when we reach out and then we bring stuff back in. Maybe start there, because that's what caught my attention a little bit.
Yeah.
We do get stuck in that. Sometimes it's not even our own stuff we're carrying.
Yes.
We don't know how to separate that out. So what do you mean?
Yes. So the solar plexus, so according to the Chakra system, there are 3 intuitive centers of discernment, and the solar plexus is the first. And the solar plexus is doing this. It's discerning self from other. So it's an intuitive part of the energy that knows what is you and what is not you. And it has this ability. But when we get entangled with other energy, whether it's another person's energy or our energy is leaving our bodies and going and reliving an experience over and over again, or staying, in a pattern that is not supportive, that energy, it becomes very muddled. And so it's hard to then disentangle sometimes when there is not an awareness, and that can manifest as anxiety, stress, fatigue, overwhelm. This is definitely the burnout center. And this for me is really the energy center that when you can connect with universal energy flow through the back and open up to receiving universal energy flow through the back of the solar plexus, that for me is the game changer. That's why I feel people always ask me, how do you have the energy to do what you're doing?
Yeah.
You know, you got a toddler, you're running 2 businesses, you're not sleeping very much. I attribute it to understanding this connection with the solar plexus, because I've taught myself how to really connect with this awareness. And when we're able to be very clear in our own energy, then we stop feeling depleted in ways that maybe have felt depleting in the past.
Okay, so I totally relate to this one, and I can see why you're calling it the self-care chakra, because the opposite of energetic is depleted, and depletion happens when you're not meeting your own needs and when you're not clear with your energy and you're not tapped into your own sort of rhythms. And that's exactly where I live. Totally. It's like figuring out where I'm off balance. So when you're saying open up the back chakra, do you mean like visually open it up? Do you mean like activate, like really just touch it and open it? How do you do that?
That's a really good question. So, and I wanted to bring this up too. So when I connect with things that feel healing or bring the energy centers into more of an expansive state or place of alignment, for me, it's really the awareness that shifts the energy. It's not necessarily having to create a healing practice around it, which of course that does anchor things in and is really beneficial, but not that I'm even applying a healing tool. But when I can connect in with how I perceive the energy and bring my awareness to that, that's when the energy shifts really quickly. This is the practice that I would recommend. If you can connect in with this part of your energy and notice if you feel like you're projecting forward, which 9 times out of 10, that is what is happening.
I'm already thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah. If you're projecting forward from this part of your energy, that is a great indicator that the energy that you can connect in and intentionally pull it back. So the way that I do this is I just connect in with the back area of the solar plexus and visualize it expanding and opening, and allowing universal energy to flow through this part of my body. And when I do that, it immediately brings that energy center into more of a balanced place. And I can feel my energy center in this part of my body. And that's huge. And so on so many levels. And I'm excited to move up to the heart, because the solar plexus heart relationship is really interesting.
I'm excited to hear too. Okay. So I know, this makes such sense to me, because I do this so much with my crown chakra to call in guidance and clarity and intuitive hits, and they come through all the time. But I never, and I do it with my heart too.
Yes.
Definitely. Like just to stay open, especially I've learned to keep my heart open in times of resistance and conflict, because it feels like we want to do the opposite, close it and protect it. But I have found if I can open it, then my resistance to being in conflict just releases. So, okay, so I've never done it with my solar plexus, which now I'm curious to try with all of them. So I'm inspired. Okay, so, so solar plexus misalignment is if you're projecting forward, if you're not feeling your clear energy. And I love what you said, just really taking time to be aware of the energy and to open it up through the back, which now I'm having such awareness to all of the chakras in the back. So that one's the yellow one. And also I wanted to just say one thing, that the really great thing about this is once you get into this whole world of chakras, there's simple ways to align by wearing colors or eating foods of that color to align with a specific chakra. And it's no mystery that certain times of the year activate different parts of the chakra and then provide different kinds of foods. So I've started right now. It's all about oranges for me. And I'm in creativity mode. So I'm eating oranges every day, and I'm really connected to my sacral chakra, and I'm just in creation mode. So it makes total sense. And sometimes you even do it intuitively, and all of a sudden you're craving food. You don't know why. Just check in I'm craving, blueberries. And all of a sudden it's all about speaking. And anyway, so it's just a whole other
Yes,
world of
getting
chakra.
all synced up.
Right, exactly, exactly. Okay, so that's the solar plexus chakra, which is
Yes.
your favorite and quickly becoming mine.
Yes, it
So
definitely.
let's move up to the next one, which is the heart chakra, and I'm
Yeah.
fascinated to hear the connection there.
Yes. So the heart chakra is, I believe this is the set point for the entire system. I mean, that we know that the heart has a massive electromagnetic field. There's so much power here in the heart. And it's also one of the intuitive centers that I work with. And the heart is doing something very different from the solar plexus. So the solar plexus is helping us do this, discerning self from other. So how do I stay aligned with myself, my soul? How am I separate from my environment? How am I separate from another person? The heart is going like this. How am I one? How am I connected? Seeing the divinity in all things. You know, the heart is the central chakra. And so it's also, for me, the beginning of the upper part of the energy. So the solar plexus is the you know, the lower the top part of the lower energy in the heart is the marking the upper part of the energy. That's why I feel that the solar plexus is also the integration point. So it's where things get stuck when we're trying to pull things through the ethers down through the crown chakra into form. They get stuck at the solar plexus if we're not in alignment there. So working with the heart chakra, we tend to be so interesting. It's so powerful. It's our compass. We're extremely sensitive to what I call heart resonance. So we have this radar and ability to immediately discern if something is coming from the heart. And whether there's an awareness around that or not, it's amazing to connect in with that because we're so perceptive from this part of our energy. And you can feel when someone is giving from the heart center, which is very different from, I like to say, selfless generosity, which is just, it's not giving from a place of being centered in the heart and really being balanced in the heart and giving. It's giving from a place of depletion, like you were saying, you know, the overflowing.
Yes,
Having
I've
your
seen
cup
that
overflow.
so much, like women giving from that place of just like, okay, I'll give
Yeah.
more. Yes, I can give more. You want more? Okay, I'll give more. And it
Yes.
creates this, I'm leaning forward as I'm doing it
Yes.
because it really is an imbalance. It's like
Totally.
in that place of, let me check in. Is that okay? Yes. Okay. No, I'm sorry, that doesn't work. And people are, I know that lots of conversations I have, especially about this heart center, and I can see where it could be such an imbalance is, they don't know how to say no, and they don't even know how to check in with that part of themselves. So do you have a way to sort of check in awareness in your heart? Is it an actual physical sensation? I know you said some people we're always pulsing with the other, but we don't even recognize it sometimes. Like people are super intuitive, but they couldn't identify where in their body they're feeling it. So do you have a way of really, since you are so connected to your body and to your energy centers, do you have like a flutter or a warmth, or what happens when you're feeling that yes or no, or, you know, expansive giving versus selfless, like, yes, I'll give more.
Yes, I will turn over. Yes, that's such a great question. So I bring it again back to the front and the back of the energy. So for me, being centered in the heart means being centered in the actual energy of the heart chakra. So again, if you feel like you're front dominating in the heart and projecting forward, I do a lot of training around the difference between empathy and compassion. Compassion is a heart-centered energy, and empathy can come from the heart and then drop down and project forward. It's a very, very different energy. And so when we're able to embody this place and really be in this place of feeling centered in our hearts, then we can give from a place that does not feel depleting. And there are lots of good ways to check in with that, or just like you're saying, you're feeling yourself move forward. Are you moving forward, or can you feel that energy flowing forward, like generosity, gratitude, all of these forward flowing energies, but being centered in your own heart? It's a very different feeling. So I would just encourage people to check in with that and check in with how open do you feel in the back of this energy center. It tends to be like on lockdown, like I will give and I am not comfortable receiving love, or it can feel very challenging to open up at the back of the heart
I
chakra.
love this. It's actually making me a little emotional because I did my morning pages this morning and I was, I just feel so contracted at moments where when you're launching something in the world and it's so vulnerable and you're just sharing and you sort of put it out there. And I felt myself contracting a little bit, like it's too much. Like I've been giving too much. And but so it made me wonder, where am I giving from? Am I giving from a place of expectation? So am I serving? And I kept writing. And what came to me at the end of it was, just tap into that generosity of just that sort of anonymous giving feeling where you just give because there's no reason to give. And yes, I know it's that time of season that we are giving anyway, right? We're sort of shooting ourselves into giving. And I just sort of, all of a sudden I got really excited about giving. And I just went on and I, ordered a few surprise gifts for people and just sort of out of the blue a little bit. And I've got this other plan today to get a few more. And I'm giving the gift to our son's teacher this week. So it feels very right. And it actually instantly just kind of opened me up and relaxed me to the point of, you know what, like whatever happens, I have the ability to give my time, my energy, my attention. It doesn't have to be monetary. And so it felt good to just kind of lean back. I literally felt like I leaned back and was centered again in what's most important. And so that really resonates. What you're saying is we do have this ability to like just slow down and check in and see where we're giving from. And again, that back of the heart awareness, because I feel like there's even this tendency to crouch in a little bit. So if we can just open up and really feel into the heart and not close off and not give from a place of, it doesn't feel good to give. It's not true service when you're giving from that place. And it doesn't feel good. It feels good to give because you're open and you feel full. So this is a good one.
Yes, I love that so much. And I was actually going to, my tip for this chakra that had come to me at the beginning of our conversation was that for me, whenever I feel like I am imbalanced in this part of my energy, whether there's a heaviness to the heart or just feeling sad, feeling hopeless, feeling whatever it is, I can return to this energy of generosity and what is it that I have within me that I can give. And that energy always, for me, always opens up flow. It's just so powerful. And so I love that you use that as an example.
I'm telling you, I just couldn't even get, I mean, I had these, this time this morning and I just felt called to sit, and I usually do my morning pages really early, but today I just needed more. I need to keep writing. I just need to keep going. And eventually after enough writing, I always get to my answer. And today was generosity. And it felt very like, oh, right. I can just give because I want to, and it feels good. And it's going to be that like give to myself by giving to others. And that felt super balanced and just, felt good. So that was pure alignment, some total chills as we were talking.
Love that. Yeah.
The whole time, really. So, okay. So heart chakra, that's green, which is, I have this green sweater, a really bright green sweater, and I wear it. It makes people so happy when I wear it. They're like, oh, that color is so beautiful. And like, yes, just enjoy.
Love it. Love it. That's
okay.
great.
So that was beautiful. Thank you. So moving up to the throat chakra.
The throat chakra. So the throat chakra is, I would say, one of the most common prioritizing energy center that I work with. It shows up a lot as the chakra that needs support ASAP in women. It is big. If I could capture my journey as a chakra journey, it would definitely be the solar plexus throat chakra journey. Learning how to align and connect and come from a place that feels authentic and then expressing that in the world. And the throat chakra, of course, we can connect all the things that you would associate with the throat, voice, truth, honesty. There's also so much there that's connected with the back of the energy. So listening and allowing from this place of the throat. That energy is really different. I connect surrender with this energy center. So really surrender for me is releasing out through the throat, releasing up to spirit and allowing to come through the back of the energy center. So that's, I connect with surrender a lot at this energy center. Choice is huge. That is a huge energy to work with at the throat chakra for sure. And there's a lot of, like, the way that I see that, choice is like alignment at the throat. And when we feel indecisive or we're kind of wavering, or, you know, there's this energy of going back and forth at the front of the throat.
Yeah, when you said choice, it actually triggered another question. So there's definitely that choice between making a choice, which one am I going to speak into existence? And the other one is, would you say that would also get blocked if you feel like you don't have a choice? Like there's something happening that you're not in control of, which happens a lot in different areas of our life. Yeah,
definitely.
How does that manifest for you when you are blocked, or when you see clients who are blocked in that area?
So I would say, a lot of things are housed here. So there's the thyroid, the tonsils, and then we could look at the whole part of this energy, you know, the jaw, tightness in the jaw, the teeth, the gums, all the neck. I mean, there's so much there. And when the energy is blocked, so I use the terms contracted for a depleted chakra, chaotic when the energy is just kind of all over the place, open open's comfortable, and expansive is optimal. So contracted as a depleted center, a lot of the time energies, feeling stifled or feeling stuck, trapped, that can manifest a lot at the throat. You'll see that in the voice changing when someone's speaking, not being able to speak, and almost like a choking sensation. I mean, feeling that stifled and that stuck and almost suffocated. I mean, those are extreme energies. I've felt them many, many times. And I've noticed that for me, when I will feel the energy in my throat rise up, and when there's something to work with. And now I've learned to connect in with that. So even if I'm not voicing something that's coming up, I can connect in with the energy here and allow it to move out so that it's not getting stifled, which is interesting.
Yeah, it feels like there's a continuum of symptoms that can happen, right? But when you're just starting to feel that stuckness, it could feel like just an energetic kind of like, like just have to keep clearing my throat. I have something to say. Or then that sort of feeling of something literally stuck in there. Like, what is that? And then I know for me, for those of you out there who are trying to relate to like, what does this feel like? When do I know I have this? I know this is such a personal one for me, because I grew up really up until just a few years ago with chronic throat pain, and one of my tonsils would hurt and then the other one would hurt, and I would get some, tonsillitis or whatever. I still have my tonsils. They've never been out, and actually I'm so grateful that I have them, because they are my little flags.
Me too, Elena. I don't think you know this about me, but it's me too. I had a sore throat for years.
It's so weird. Not weird, but it's, once you get it, you can see why. So whenever now, like when I say it's a flag, what I mean by that is when I feel a little bit of pain in one of my tonsils, I instantly ask myself, okay, what do I have to say? What haven't I said? What needs to be cleared? And I start thinking about it, and I have conversations, and usually it's with like the people closest to me. It's with my husband or a dear friend or my sister or my mom, I have that conversation, difficult as it feels in the moment, and then whoosh, it's clear. And it's been like that. And I haven't had any chronic sore throat issues, but now it's like my little flag when I have to say something. And I don't know if you know this, but so when I was at the conference we were at, and I was the final keynote speaker, and there was just so much tension built up, and I was I had gotten this throat thing a few days before, totally obviously, when I got it, and it went away miraculously during my speech, which was great because I had to talk for an hour, which I went over because I can talk. But then afterwards, I don't think I energetically really addressed what was going on with the fear coming up and with the self-doubt and stuff that comes up when you're doing stuff that's not comfortable. And for the next week, I literally felt like I had something sitting in there, and it took me a while to really, it was almost like this tight knot, and I had to keep unraveling little bits of it, and keep talking through it and writing through it. And I didn't do anything that next week except for lay on the couch and watch Netflix. Seriously, like it's all I had the energy
so
for.
Good. Yeah.
So nourishing. And I just didn't need to talk for a while. That was it. Because I was thinking so I knew I was doing this for months in advance, and it was such a build up that at the end, I just needed to be quiet for like 3 days.
Yes.
And it felt so I do that. So that's a really clear example of feeling what was out of alignment or just under pressure.
Yeah.
And so I love that you share that same thing. Like,
yes,
you know exactly when you need something to say, or to say something that you haven't said yet, or the difficult conversations coming, or
or to just be quiet, or to just because I think too, we associate sometimes that being in balance in a particular energy center is almost this excessive energy, when really, if we're thinking about this front and back aspect of this doing and this being, there is the speaking, and then there's the listening, there's the doing, and then there's the being and the allowing. There's that balance, and it's a dynamic tension that we're always working with, to really find that balance as things shift. But yeah, that's so interesting. And it's a great cue to connect in with. So, and I also want to mention that the throat chakra, I find this to be the most intimidating energy center for most people to work with, because it does oftentimes mean giving things voice. And we can do all of the deep internal work that we want inside ourselves privately. But when it comes to actually showing that, sharing that, revealing that, speaking that to the world, that is a whole different ballgame, and that can be really terrifying.
Totally terrifying. And it actually physically it's almost like having this pressurized bubble, right? You know, in your heart and in your body, and it's sort of getting stuck right there because you're not saying it. And I had this experience recently with my husband where I was just feeling so overwhelmed. And this again, launch mode, like me crazy launch mode, having to do extra self-care.
It's intense.
But I had to say something, and I didn't even know who to say it to. And we sat down and we talked for like an hour, and I physically felt release afterwards. Like it just, the bubble sort of burst, and there was no more tension. And I felt so good. And I almost wanted to cry, because I'm like, oh, right. I just needed to talk about it. So, you know, sometimes, like you said, giving it voice, because I was doing everything I knew how to do to process it inside, like we all do, right? So, but the one thing I really needed to do was just talk about it. And as soon as I started talking, it just came out like a mile a minute. And he's listening, and, you know, he's learned to just listen over time.
Good man.
Yeah, it was so good. I was so happy afterwards. I felt so light, and it felt so much better. Just say it. So great one.
It's huge. And look at as we move up into the third eye chakra energy, this is the most narrow part of our physical anatomy. And it's sandwiched between the two most consistently expansive energy centers that I work with, which are the heart and the third eye chakra. And so it makes sense to me that if you are not able to give your intuition from this part of the energy language and voice and express what is coming from the heart, that there's this buildup and tension and stifling that happens at the throat chakra that can manifest in the physical body. So it's big. So I would, and the thing that came to me of just, you know, a tip would be, you know, checking in with, is there anything that you feel you need to voice, but also what are you asking for? You know, what is an ask maybe that you're keeping inside that really could use being expressed in the outer part of the energy shared with the world?
Yeah, that's huge. Even just out loud by yourself. Outside, like, I really want more, you know, time for myself, or I want, you know, whatever kind of relationship, or it's interesting because words do have that power. And I love that you pointed that out. Even in, you know, with our anatomy, it reflects sort of how we are processing energy, and it does get stuck right there.
Yeah, I know. I call it the choke point.
Yeah, totally. I love that. So just asking for what you want and need, even out loud to yourself. And I know I've done things like, you know, driving in my car alone, and if I need to say something to someone, and I just sort of say it out loud, and sometimes it really just releases the pressure. It was my own processing that needed to happen. Doesn't even have to get to the other person sometimes. So asking, of course, drinking water, being silent sometimes is good, right? So there's lots of ways to process it. It's a great one. I think a lot of women, you out there, are relating to the third one, because we all have things we need to say to ourselves and to others that really get stuck. And the thyroid, I know, is a big one for a lot of women too. And I don't know about the healing process, but definitely can relieve some of the pressure that lives just in our voice and speaking our roar, right? Speaking truth.
Yes.
A huge one. Okay. So we've got two more. So my favorite ones, I have to say.
Yes. So the
third eye, which I like to open.
The third eye chakra. I know I call this like, okay, we've arrived at the fun upper part of the energy now. We usually get, a little bit stuck at the throat and then arrive at the third eye chakra and it's party time. So the third eye chakra for me. So this is, like I mentioned, one of the most consistently expansive energy centers. We talked about the solar plexus being intuitive and doing this discernment, self from other, the heart intuitively knowing how we're connected. I refer to those as the two intuitive feeling centers of discernment, whereas the third eye chakra is the intuitive center of knowing. We receive auditory, intuitive information from this part of the energy. So intuitive vision, intuitive knowing, intuitive hearing. And then it's also the energy center of dreams, which that's one of my favorite healing things to work with, dreams. It's also the house of the intuition and the intellect. So it is a huge energy to work with. And I work with a lot of highly intellectual people who I've found that people who are highly intellectual are oftentimes highly intuitive in this part of their energy. But we work a lot with how to discern the intellectual energy from the intuitive energy, because it is very different and it can be subtle, but it can definitely be profound to tap into that. So one of the ways that I do this is just by connecting with when something's coming through and you're trying to discern, is this the intellect or the intuition, noticing where you feel it in this part of your energy. Oftentimes the intellect is very, very busy in the front of the head, whereas the intuitive impressions tend to come through the back of the third eye or the sides.
Wow.
And kind of come through the front of the third eye. So that's the way that I connect in with it. So if you find yourself really kind of fixated in this part of the energy, it can be a good indicator that you're in like a toxic thought wheel, or that the intellect is just kind of on overdrive. And we also, it's very important that we honor both. The intellect has a very important purpose. And if we can allow the intuitive energy to flow from this part of our energy, then we can process it and break it down and analyze it. It's profound. I mean, that's how you're able to bring intuitive work into a professional practice, I feel, is by honoring both of those parts of this energy.
Yeah, I love that, because you can have the intuitive like hit, which mine comes from right here. So I love that you said that, because I always feel like coming from this way. And then you process it through maybe your intellect and learning to balance those, because you don't want to let the intellect stop you from following your intuitive energy, but also you don't want to be so, either one of those. I mean, you could be whatever you want to be, but it really is nice to honor both. Like, even though, it's a maybe intellectual idea, then you can like, okay, well, how does that feel? Does it feel like, what does it make me feel in my body? Is this coming from very logical yet doesn't feel good? Because logic can move any direction. But if you marry that with your own intuitive knowing, that's like huge, because you can process ideas through that filter of intuition, and vice versa. You can process intuitive ideas. Like, my intuition tells me to move to Italy tomorrow because I want some. Let's think about that for a second. Like, I have a child and a husband. What would that mean for my life? Take them both. So there's definitely positive attributes to both, and filtering them through and learning to really tap into that. So if you were to say the best way to really get to work with or clear, you feel like you are stuck intuitively and you're not hearing or seeing or feeling, the different clear ways that you can receive information, what's a great way to stimulate that or to clear it?
That's a really good question. So I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but I will say to bring your awareness to the back of this part of your energy. So if you can, and as we get up to the crown chakra, if you can pull energy through the crown and bring your awareness to the back of the energy, that immediately shifts where you might be projecting from. Mm-hmm. And because the intellect tends to be the front dominant part of the energy, and there can be a lot of rigidity around it, or it can feel kind of like it's chaotic. The intuitive energy feels like the opposite of that. It can feel, I perceive it almost as like swirly and smooth and gentle. And that's my way of connecting in with it. So anything you can do to really intentionally notice that when you feel that energy, an intuitive impression coming through, if it feels gentle, if it feels soft, if it feels like it's coming through the back, if you can notice that, that helps to build that muscle of discerning between the two. So I would bring the awareness to the back of this energy center and just see what happens. And every other thing that we've talked through also helps to balance this, get into your body. I think that's why so many people benefit from exercising. Yeah. We talk about clearing our mind. It's like, get grounded, get out of your head.
Yep.
And bring it down and bring it back. And when you bring it back and down, a lot shifts.
Yeah, that's why I always feel so intuitive after Zumba.
Yes.
In your body, dancing, activating, playing. Afterwards, I'm like, oh, I need to record something. I need to go. No, I'm bright red and sweaty. I can't record anything. Let me grab my journal. So it's true. After you move your body, things start moving and stimulating. Or I know I love to jump on my trampoline, and but I'm having this real awareness of the back of my body now. So thank you for that, because I'm curious to see how it will affect how I connect to my different energy centers. And I mean, I sort of knew that, but I never really, I think I'm realizing, when the time is right, when you hear something, like it's the right time to feel that awareness. So, okay. So that's awesome. So third eye, intuitive center, really becoming aware of the back. And I know for me, I love to write. That's a really intuitive experience for me. I can sort of access that part. And I know different people have different ways to access it. So that's, you sort of play with it. Is there a favorite way that you have to, like, if you're looking for an answer or some kind of guidance, do you have a favorite way to do that?
Yeah. This is my favorite way, because this is such a third eye chakra tool. When this is a physical object. And so what the pendulum is doing is it is reflecting back to us in physical form what it is that we're already perceiving within the energy intuitively. And so it's a great way to give the mind something to focus on in order to allow the intuitive energy to flow through you. And so whenever I feel like, I do this work all the time. And so it's through a lot of practice, I've learned how to really trust, and I bring it back down to the sacral chakra. So I almost intuitively move my energy into the sacral chakra whenever I am working with the pendulum. That gets me out of my head. And I'm a total skeptic, so I keep myself in check a lot. I'm always like, how is this happening? I can't understand how most of this is happening. I think all of the great things, that's why it's so magical, because it is a mystery. Yeah. And so this tool really helps give my third eye chakra energy that balance and that awareness, because I'm keeping myself in check when I use it. So, I mean, that sounds a little harsh, but
no, it's true, because we do all have the skeptic. It's a great point. We do have the skeptic inside of us that's like, really, is that real? Come on, you can't feel it. You can't see it. What are you doing? Your feelings, whatever. So we do have that. And I think even embracing that voice, like, thank you, I get it. You're trying to keep me safe. I know. Can't see the magic, but we're going to be okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely an important piece of really tapping into this whole conversation, really, because there is a skeptical part of each of us, and that's okay. We all have a bunch of us inside there. It's all good. Yeah. Okay, so the last and final crowning energy center, the crown chakra.
Yes. So the crown chakra. So this is, I love, love, love being in the energy of the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is our connection with spirit. It is the energy center that really is connecting us with our divine purpose in the world. It's also where we receive divine inspiration, or, I use the term download a lot. Just, it's where I feel it's almost like this funnel. So we're opening up to the ethers and pulling information through. It's where a lot of inspiration comes through. And oftentimes I'll feel glimpses of things and then need to immediately grab onto it and either write it down or pull it into the energy somehow, bring it back to the solar plexus, anchor it into this part of my energy so that I can really bring it through all the way. I would say a lot of highly creative people, when we talk about like, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas and I have so many things. If you can't pull that energy down into that area of integration at the solar plexus, it's much harder to pull it through into physical form. So, grounding again is huge for pulling in divine inspiration. You have to be grounded in order to really bring something through the ethers into form.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know in the whole, there's like that lotus spinning, and, I think for myself, I definitely can feel that. And what actually has helped me, and I feel like I used to get a lot of information, which seemed a little overwhelming. And then I had a mentor teach me to, for me, work to kind of make it more of a clear channel. Like, I am a clear channel, not just like bring me everything.
I'm open to everything. Yeah.
Especially if someone's like highly sensitive to getting downloads and information, it can feel like, well, which one am I supposed to act on? This is too much sometimes, right? Or it can feel like there's too much going on, or you're just like this antenna getting everything. Versus for me, even just to visualize, like, okay, one thing at a time, down. So that's been huge for me too. So how do you feel, or how would someone know who's listening who would be either stuck or closed or feel frustrated in that particular energy center?
When there's a feeling of separateness and disconnection, that's a really strong indicator that the crown chakra may be struggling. So feeling just not connected, not in that oneness energy that the crown chakra helps us feel. I mean, it's the energy center that is connected in with faith, and with grace and with divine love. I mean, it's such a beautiful energy to work with. It's also, though, when we were talking about the root chakra being imbalanced and feeling kind of this hovering, like if you're looking down at your body, that is also very much tied in with the crown chakra too. In my observation, the crown chakra tests as contracted or chaotic in chronic illness a lot. This is through my own observation and, playing mad scientist for gathering as much data as possible over thousands of chakra assessments. That's something that I've just noticed that, and interestingly, with chronic illness, if you can just think of being so uncomfortable in your body over a period of time, it would make sense that in order to be that, there would be a disconnection, or there would be almost like an uprooting in the energy because it's so uncomfortable to be in the physical body. And yet the most profound healing that I've witnessed has been in calling the energy back into the body, because it's really the energy being in the body that helps to bring about healing.
Wow.
So it's a big energy to work with. And I would say too, the way that I work with this part of the energy is I visualize, just, connecting directly and connecting up. There can sometimes be this energy of like needing, and it's not necessarily an awareness or intentional, but of like trying to access through another source whenever we're seeking, when we go back to the answers that are already within and can really open up that direct channel. I think that's incredibly
fascinating. I even love how you just did that, because sometimes, and it totally makes sense. And for those of you out there who are like entrepreneurs on your path, looking for your mission, passion, voice, all of that, there's such a tendency and a pull to find it through something, through someone. Like, if I just read this book, if I just take this class, if I just get this one more thing, I'll find my way back. And truly, it's all right here, right? And that's sort of the gift and the curse all in one, because we trust it sometimes. And once you get that feeling of, you know what, I just need to close my eyes and learn to know my interior world first, and then process my exterior world through that internal lens. And that really is what we've been talking about, is, like you said many times, awareness. Bring it back to awareness. And just, even if you do nothing else but close your eyes and try to feel, as we're talking through this, like, go back, rewind, and go through each one.
Go through each one.
Even try to feel it. Like, can you feel, can you tap into that energy center? What does it feel like? And there's no right or wrong. Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it tight? Is it open? Is it contracted? You know, how do I feel? And then just even breathing into that, I think, would be a huge step for someone who hasn't done any of this work, or those of you who have, but are like, oh yeah, the chakras, I should totally do that. Because there's so much power. And it was interesting, because I'm thinking of your work, and it can go so deep once you go into this whole thing, because there's so many layers, energy center. And like you said, everything from chronic illness to finding your truth, doing the work that you're meant to do, to just finding joy in your day and being in your body. So there's so much wisdom. And, isn't there, like, I don't know, something like over 100 chakras or something, really, like, when you get into the real little subtleties?
No, I don't even know. I don't even know. I feel like, wow, this could just continue to evolve, because this work keeps evolving. And that's what I really feel, that all great teachers are leading us back to what is already within us. They're simply teaching and guiding us how to access that. And so that is what this work has been all about for me, is discovering the way to access this information, to access what is already within. Because yes, we go out, we study, we learn, and all of those tools and all of those skills that we build are so important, but they all bring us back to what is already within us, those gifts that are already inside. And the crown chakra, I think, is really that ultimate expression of sharing your light with the world, of just being open to bringing the divine down into physical form through you, and being the light in the world that is sharing something unique. And so it's a beautiful energy to work with. And I intentionally connect with this energy through nature. My signs come through synchronicity and, asking for signs. I really connect it with this part of the energy. I see them in the clouds a lot, and I have an obsession with beach stones. So stones and clouds and animals tend to be my signs, from creator, from spirit, from the divine, when I am just looking back for that communication, that dialogue, that deep internal dialogue of oneness.
Yeah. And we all have access to that, right? So looking out and just asking and noticing and using nature as metaphor. That's what it is, right? So really learning to communicate. And one more thing just hit me before we wrap up, and I'm like, oh, we've been on for so long. Thank you so much. Seriously, I'm like, this is going to take an hour, not even an hour. And
it'll be fine. Yeah.
I just think there's so much deep value here that people are going to get from this, that I'm just so glad that I didn't even look at the watch. We just kept going. But it feels like, just this final thought, and tell me if you have felt this too. It just feels like, wow, we've all got this.
Yes.
We are all in this together. This is something we can all connect to. It feels like it connects us in a real oneness sort of way, that we are all created with this energy set system that we can all tap into and clear and connect, and ultimately do that ultimate sort of connection to divine, and trust that we're on exactly the path that we're meant to be on. And that's where we end up, in a zone of flow and genius, like you are. So sharing your gift through this methodology, which is so applicable to all of us, to what we're doing. So I just have such huge gratitude for you right now, and for the light that you are, and for just the authenticity and the truth that you bring to all of it. And I know that whoever's listening out there, I know you're being inspired. So I hope you took notes and save this, this video, this interview, because there's so much goodness here. And if you just want to take a minute and just share, I know there's different times throughout the year that this program is open. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your immersion program and where we can find it.
Yes. So the Chakra Immersion program is an 8-week virtual program. It's essentially energy school. I mean, this is the material I wish I would have had growing up, and especially starting my career, so that I would have the awareness and the skills to really work with energy in this way. I work with people who, do coaching work, who are yoga teachers, who are working in some type of business capacity. I mean, people have all different backgrounds that do this program. And like I had mentioned before, it's a training in the Chakra system. So assessing the chakra energies. We learn about the organ energies and assessing the organ energies, and then really apply the system of assessment to each of the 7 chakras and dive in really deep into the 7 energy centers and various energetic concepts that correspond to each. So it's a really powerful program. And what's been so amazing about it is that it's a platform, but it is also this methodology that helps to weave together all of the skills, all of the gifts, and focus them in a very systematic way, in a very specific way, in a way that can be measured. And it's all done with this magical tool, which is so fun. I mean, who would have thought that this would be the work that I do? But it's so magical, and it's also so real. And so it's powerful stuff. So the Chakra Immersion program, this time around, I'm offering the first certification round. So this is becoming a professional certification, getting Chakra certified. And I'll most likely, the 2016 round starts on January 11th.
Beautiful. Awesome. I mean, just taking this work to a deeper level and learning about it and then getting certified in it is amazing. So thank you so much for your just amazing for being a guest expert in the Divine Self-Care Circle. I know it's such a gift to have you and the information and just the magic that you're providing today. So
Thank you so much.
So much.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I can't wait to see you in person again very soon. And again, go to chakrady.com or chakrady.com/immersion if you want to know more. And just have an amazing, amazing day. I would reach through the screen and give you a hug if I could, but I'm sure we'll find a way to do that very, very soon. So
thank you so much, my dear. You're rocking it.
Oh, thank you. You are too. Mwah. I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.